She's getting a seat on Trump's plane, Anna.
Right. His wife isn't on the plane, his daughter isn't on the plane, but this kook is on the plane. And I think it should be incredibly concerning that potentially the next president of the United States is surrounded by racist conspiracy theorists. Listen, when Marjorie Taylor Greene is all of a sudden the voice of reason, we've got to, call it a wake-up moment. And I do think we need to pay attention to it, because I'd like to know what role she's going to have in a future Trump administration. I'd like to know what kind of access she would have to the future, possibly president of the United States.
In the tangled, messy web of American politics, Donald Trump's presidency and ongoing influence have created deep divisions, both between and within political parties. As the nation confronts the possibility of his return to power, dissenting voices from conservative circles have grown louder. Among them, Ana Navarro stands out for her sharp wit, unwavering principles, and fierce criticism of Trump and his allies. Navarro's journey in American politics is rooted in her immigrant experience. Born in Nicaragua, she came to the United States as a child, facing the challenges of adapting to a new country and language. This experience shaped her worldview, instilling a deep appreciation for American opportunities and a determination to defend the country's values. Her immigrant background is not merely biographical, it's a crucial element that informs her political perspective and drives her advocacy for immigrant rights. Navarro often shares her experiences as a young immigrant, bringing a personal dimension to the often abstract debates surrounding immigration policy.
So I came when I was in third grade. It was so painful not to be able to speak the language and understand the classes. Even though in Miami at that time, there were so many refugees from Latin America coming in that there were 32 girls who were in English as a second language classes with me. So I think there were like 4 who spoke English. But it was very, very hard. And yes, I know a lot of people think I still don't speak English well. Well, this is what you're getting. It was terrifying. You know what I would do? I was so embarrassed when I would be given pop quizzes and have no idea of how to answer anything, because I didn't understand the language. I didn't understand the questions. How could I answer? I would write in somebody's name, like a different name, like a made-up name, like, Heidi, on the quiz, because I was so mortified.
This personal history has given Navarro a unique perspective on the American experience, one that combines a deep love for her adopted country with a critical eye towards its shortcomings. As she rose through the ranks of Republican politics, Navarro established herself as a principled conservative, advocating for traditional Republican values while also pushing for a more inclusive and diverse party. However, as Trump's influence grew within the Republican Party, Navarro found herself increasingly at odds with the direction her party was taking. Her criticisms of Trump became more frequent and pointed, especially when it came to his rhetoric about immigrants and minorities. One particular incident that sparked Navarro's ire was Trump's attack on a federal judge of Mexican heritage. Navarro's response was both passionate and personal.
It is offensive from a legal perspective. It is highly offensive as a Hispanic. What he is doing is wagging the dog. He is trying to distract from the fact that he has got a problem with a case where there are allegations that his business is a scam and a fraud. How dare he? How dare he question a judge's responsibility, a judge's adherence to the Constitution because he is of Mexican descent? This man was born in East Chicago. He is an American citizen. He is just as American as Donald Trump. Mexican Americans bleed just as any other American when they go to war. They bled just as any other American at 911. They fight for America. They are Americans, and what he is doing is disgusting. I'm livid about it, and if this is his strategy to win over Hispanics, he's got a hell of a wake-up call coming to him come November.
This impassioned response exemplifies Navarro's approach to political commentary. She doesn't just disagree with Trump's policies or rhetoric. She sees them as a fundamental threat to the values of inclusivity and equality that she believes are at the heart of the American experience. Her criticism is not just political. It's deeply personal, rooted in her own experiences as an immigrant and a Hispanic woman in America. Navarro's outspoken criticism of Trump and his allies has made her a target for attacks from within her own party. However, rather than backing down, she has embraced these attacks as validation of her principles. Her resilience in the face of criticism has become a defining characteristic of her public persona.
Oh, please, listen, every time anybody last name Trump tweets against me or attacks me, which has happened many times, including when Donald Trump was president, I take it as a badge of honor. So if you want to attack me on social media, please keep doing it, because I'm going to get them all printed, and I want them to be read in my in my eulogy, in my obituary. I wanted to say, and the Trump family attacked her X amount of times because I am very proud of it. I think they're all pretty bad people.
This defiant attitude in the face of high-profile criticism has endeared Navarro to many who see her as a voice of reason within a party that they believe has lost its way. Her willingness to stand up to Trump and his supporters, even at the cost of her standing within the Republican Party, has made her a respected figure across the political spectrum. As the political landscape in America has become increasingly polarized, Navarro has positioned herself as a voice of reason, calling for a return to principled conservatism and a rejection of extremism. Her criticisms are not limited to Trump himself, but extend to those who enable or support his more controversial actions and statements. She has been particularly vocal about the need for the Democratic Party to present a united front against what she sees as the threat posed by a potential second Trump presidency.
From where I stand, as somebody who does not want to see Donald Trump elected under any circumstance, I would just like Democrats to figure it out and figure it out quickly. If it's Biden, fine. If it's Harris, fine. If it's Clint Eastwood's empty chair, fine. If it's any empty chair, fine. But let's just focus on what it is and what we've got to do to make sure that Donald Trump does not get reelected. In the last week, we've seen what's happened to people around Donald Trump. Rudy Giuliani disbarred. Steve Bannon went to jail, went to prison. Nobody talking about that. Nobody talking about how Donald Trump has pretty much gotten immunity from the Supreme Court now. And this is the guy who's calling for retribution and vengeance and wants to be a dictator for one day.
Navarro's concerns about Trump's potential return to power are not just about policy disagreements. She sees his rhetoric and actions as fundamentally at odds with democratic norms and the rule of law. Her colleagues' warnings about the potential consequences of a second Trump term are stark and uncompromising.
We are talking about mass deportations. We're talking about an adjudicated rapist. We're talking about somebody who's been convicted of 34 felonies, being the president of the United States with absolutely no guardrails before him. The fact that I'm able to prosecute this case right now, the fact that Anna just did, and the fact that Joe Biden has not done that in the last week is troubling to me. So if he can do it, he needs to go out there and do it now. If he can't do it, he needs to step aside and let somebody do it who can. But we are on the precipice of not being able to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our democracy in 2 years, effectively because we are about to elect somebody who is a threat to that democracy.
This stark assessment of the stakes in the upcoming election underscores the gravity with which Navarro views the current political moment. For her, the choice is not just between two candidates or two parties, but between democracy and authoritarianism. Despite her fierce criticism of Trump and her concerns about the direction of the Republican Party, Navarro remains proud of her conservative principles and her Hispanic heritage. She has been a vocal advocate for greater representation of Hispanic Americans in politics and public life. Her excitement about attending a White House event celebrating Hispanic heritage reflects this pride.
It was wonderful. It was such a happy occasion. I've told you before, the social secretary of the White House right now is Carlos Elizondo. Carlos is a Mexican-American man from the border area of Texas. And it is, so all Hispanic celebrations are so on point. The margaritas are so good at the White House, I can't even tell you. But they're all beautiful. It rained that night, so they brought it inside. It's usually in the Rose Garden. And it was, honestly, it was the Hispanic community saying thank you to Joe Biden, because he really, one of the things he committed to when he was running for president was to have a representative administration. He said he would have an administration that looked like America, and he has delivered.
Navarro's appreciation for diversity in government reflects her belief that the Republican Party must embrace inclusivity to remain relevant in a changing America. Her journey from immigrant child to influential commentator embodies both the promise and challenges of the American dream. As a Hispanic woman in a field often dominated by white men, she has faced numerous obstacles, but persevered, advocating for more inclusive politics. Her criticism of Trump and his allies has come at a personal cost, facing backlash and online harassment. Yet, she remains undaunted, speaking out against what she sees as the erosion of democratic norms. As the 2024 election approaches, Navarro's voice has become increasingly urgent, calling for unity among Trump's opponents. Despite recent challenges, Navarro remains committed to her principles and vision of America. Her story demonstrates the power of individual voices to shape national conversations. As we look to the future, voices like Navarro's will continue to play a crucial role in challenging extremism and defending democratic institutions. Navarro's journey embodies the ongoing struggle to realize America's highest ideals. Her story reminds us that democracy requires constant vigilance and active participation. As the nation faces 21 century challenges, voices like Navarro's will be crucial in shaping debates and pushing for solutions that uphold American values while addressing the needs of a diverse population. In the end, Ana Navarro's story reflects America's ongoing struggle to create a more perfect union. Her advocacy and commitment to democratic values serve as a beacon of hope and a call to action for all who believe in the promise of America.